The story unfolds 16 years after the events of the original film, following the assassination of Emperor Commodus by Maximus. Commodus' sister Lucilla sent her son Lucius, the rightful heir to the throne, to the North African kingdom of Numidia for his protection. In the present, Lucius, now living under the alias Hanno, resides in Numidia with his wife, Erishat. The peace in Numidia is disrupted when the Roman army, commanded by General Acacius, sets its sights on conquering the region as part of the empire's expansion plans. Upon learning of the impending invasion, Lucius collaborates with King Gladiator to prepare a defense. Rallying the Numidian forces, Lucius denounces the Romans as destructive barbarians and organizes the city's defenses. As the Romans approach, the Numidians launch a counterattack with fiery projectiles, aiming to damage the Roman fleet before the ground assault begins. However, the Romans retaliate with their own siege weapons, breaching the city walls and initiating a brutal battle. Lucius fights valiantly, inspired by the legacy of Maximus, but tragedy strikes when his wife, Erishat, an archer defending the city, is killed. Overcome with grief, Lucius rushes to her side, only to find her lifeless. The battle concludes with Numidia falling to the Roman forces, their superior numbers and experience proving insurmountable. The city is left in ruins, its defenders slain, and its remaining inhabitants, including Lucius, taken captive. General Acacius makes a public display of burning the bodies of the Numidian soldiers who resisted, cementing Rome's dominance. The surviving Numidians are transported to Rome to be sold into slavery. Among them is Lucius, who, during the harrowing journey, reflects on the greed and ambition of the Roman generals who once sought to kill him as a child, to eliminate any threat to their power after the death of his uncle, Emperor Commodus. To ensure his safety, Lucilla sent her son Lucius to Numidia, far from Rome's grasp. Meanwhile, General Acacius returns to Rome as a celebrated war hero after his conquest of Numidia. The corrupt twin emperors, Geta and Caracalla, publicly honor him by crowning him with gold, announcing grand gladiator games in the Colosseum to mark the victory. These games will feature the Numidian slaves Acacius brought back, forcing them to fight for survival. The emperors also reveal their grand ambitions of expanding Rome's reach to Persia and India, instructing Acacius to lead these campaigns. However, the general, weary of war, requests a break, only to be denied. As the gladiator games commence, the captured Numidians face a brutal trial battling ferocious baboons for their survival. Among the prisoners is King Gladiator, gravely injured from the earlier conflict. Lucius urges Gladiator to stay close for protection, but tragically cannot save him from a fatal attack by one of the beasts. Despite the chaos, Lucius displays incredible skill, killing one of the baboons and emerging victorious. Lucius's triumph draws the attention of slave traders who fiercely bid for him. He is eventually purchased by Macrinus, a man impressed by his potential. Macrinus reveals plans to enter Lucius into the upcoming gladiator games in Rome. Initially resistant, Lucius insists he is not a slave, but when Macrinus inquires about his desire for revenge, Lucius reveals that his hatred is directed at one man, General Acacius. Macrinus, driven by his own political motives, proposes a deal. If Lucius can rise through the ranks as a gladiator and win the crowd's favor, Macrinus will help him exact his revenge and take down Acacius. Motivated by his burning desire for vengeance, Lucius agrees, setting the stage for his ascent in the brutal world of gladiatorial combat. The following day, Macrinus and several prominent military leaders from the empire gather at the royal palace to celebrate the emperor's recent triumph over Numidia. Among the attendees is Senator Thrax, who shows interest in supporting Macrinus as a candidate for the upcoming Senate elections. However, Macrinus dismisses the idea, stating he has no interest in political affairs. During the event, it is decided to entertain the emperors with a gladiatorial duel. Lucius is pitted against a slave named Servius in a brutal fight, and Lucius ultimately claims victory. Impressed, Emperor Geta questions Lucius about his origins. In response, Lucius recites lines from Virgil, subtly hinting at his Roman upbringing. This raises Macrinus's suspicions about Lucius's true background, as his speech and combat skills seem inconsistent with those of a Numidian. Despite this, Lucius manages to maintain his cover. Meanwhile, Lucilla, Lucius's mother, is revealed to be married to General Acacius, who has recently returned from his successful campaign. Lucilla is thrilled by her husband's triumph but soon discovers his plan to overthrow the twin emperors. Acacius intends to leverage public disdain for the corrupt rulers, march his army into Rome, and seize power. He assures the Senate that once the emperors are removed, authority will be transferred back to them. As the final day of the gladiatorial games approaches, Macrinus arrives in Rome with his slaves to prepare for the next round of battles. He meets again with Senator Thrax to gather intelligence on the Senate's operations. During the games, a dramatic reenactment of Rome's conquest of the barbarians takes place. Macrinus's slaves are cast as the barbarians, while Rome's undefeated champion, Magnus, leads the empire's warriors. The stage is set for a high-stakes confrontation that intertwines ambition, revenge, and survival. Magnus makes a grand entrance into the arena atop a massive rhinoceros, unleashing chaos as he attacks the barbarians. Many fall, unable to withstand his immense strength. However, Lucius cleverly manages to unseat Magnus, forcing him into a one-on-one battle. The fight is intense, and Lucius channels the techniques of the legendary Maximus, ultimately defeating Magnus in a dramatic and crowd-pleasing manner. Watching from a distance, Lucilla is struck by Lucius's fighting style, which mirrors that of her former lover, Maximus. Her suspicion deepens when she overhears Emperor Geta mention the verse Lucius had recited earlier, a line that was once her son's favorite. Overcome with curiosity, Lucilla recalls that she hasn't seen her son in 16 years. Upon returning to the palace, Lucilla summons Macrinus under the guise of a formal introduction. During their conversation, Macrinus recalls serving her father, Emperor Marcus Aurelius, when she was a child. Lucilla probes him about the origins of the gladiators in the arena, but Macrinus explains that his slaves are merely captives with no homes. Sensing Lucilla's persistent interest, he refrains from mentioning Lucius specifically. Later, Macrinus consults with a senator and uncovers Lucilla's past, including the mysterious disappearance of her son Lucius at the age of 8. He pieces together that Lucius and Hanno are likely the same person. Digging deeper, Macrinus learns that Lucilla was married to Lord Pharos, a man indifferent to her, and that rumors swirled about Lucius's true father being Emperor Commodus, Lucilla's obsessive brother. Realizing that Hanno carries imperial blood, Macrinus begins to plot his next move. As the day ends, Lucilla secretly visits Lucius in prison. Desperate for answers, she asks if he is her long-lost son. Lucius, however, denies her claim, insisting his name is Hanno and coldly accusing her of abandoning her child to live a life of comfort in Rome. Lucilla, convinced that Lucius is her son, tearfully apologizes, explaining that she sent him away from Rome to protect him from political rivals vying for the throne. She confesses that she could not accompany him, fearing for his safety. As a guard summons her due to the late hour, Lucilla reluctantly leaves, but not before revealing that she recognized him through his fighting style and demeanor, traits reminiscent of his true father, Maximus. Overwhelmed by the revelation of his origins, Lucius becomes furious and demands she leave. Back at the palace, Lucilla confides in her husband, Acacius, that Hanno is, in fact, her long-lost son, Lucius. She pleads for his help, knowing that the upcoming trial in the gladiatorial games will be exceptionally perilous. Unbeknownst to them, a hidden servant overhears their conversation. The next day, the gladiatorial games simulate the Battle of Salome. The arena is transformed into a watery battleground, complete with ships and sharks to heighten the danger. Lucius devises a clever strategy, leading his ship to trap the Roman vessel while positioning his own for a decisive attack. Despite his tactical success, an intercepted arrow intended for General Acacius instead strikes Emperor Geta's throne, putting Lucius under suspicion. He denies involvement and celebrates victory with his comrades. Meanwhile, the servant informs Senator Thrax of Lucilla and Acacius's plans for a coup. Thrax, in debt to Macrinus, shares the information with him. Seeing an opportunity, Macrinus manipulates the emperors, convincing them to arrest Lucilla and Acacius for treason. During their trial, Emperor Caracalla demands Acacius's execution, but Geta hesitates. Fearing public backlash, Macrinus suggests an alternative: force Acacius to fight in the Colosseum, secretly planning for Lucius to face him. Later, Ravi, a friend of Lucius and a former gladiator, gifts Lucius the armor and sword of Maximus, inspiring him for the trials ahead. Acacius enters the Colosseum and, despite being outnumbered, defeats 5 Roman soldiers. When Lucius faces him, Acacius surrenders, revealing that he had no role in Numidia's invasion, merely following imperial orders. Lucius forgives him, but Geta, enraged, orders Acacius's execution by archers. Acacius dies a hero, prompting Lucius to rally the people of Rome against the emperors. Macrinus capitalizes on the chaos, manipulating Caracalla into killing Geta. Afterward, Macrinus positions himself as the emperor's advisor, plotting his rise to power. Meanwhile, Lucilla visits Lucius in prison, apologizing again. She gives him a ring that once belonged to Marcus Aurelius, a symbol of their shared legacy. Caracalla announces his brother's death to the Senate, appointing a monkey as counselor and Macrinus as his advisor. Lucius, aware of Macrinus's ambitions, sends Ravi to General Darius in Ostia with the ring, seeking military support. Darius, recognizing Lucius's claim to the throne, pledges his allegiance. As Lucilla's execution approaches, Lucius escapes prison, rallying gladiators to his cause. Equipped with Maximus's armor, he leads an uprising, defeating Roman soldiers in the arena. Simultaneously, Macrinus assembles an army outside Rome but uses the chaos to eliminate Caracalla. During the battle, Macrinus accidentally shoots Lucilla with an arrow meant for Lucius and flees. In a final confrontation, Lucius and Macrinus face off in a duel. Despite nearly losing, Lucius triumphs, inspired by memories of his mother. He addresses the combined armies, renouncing his desire for power and calling for united and peaceful Rome. Fulfilling the vision of his grandfather, Marcus Aurelius, the soldiers unite under Lucius's banner, and a new era begins.